Good morning, it's that time again. We're doing the Never Neverland series that I decided to do based on some prompts by some listeners or those on Facebook. 10 things you should never do in your relationship. Some of them... Jair, man, you make my day every time I see that. Excuse me. Still getting over the flu. My God, it's been 12 days. Okay. So, hi, Julie. Michael! Good to see everybody. This is awesome. So the first thing we covered in lesson number 1 was never say you make me a better person. If you can't be better all by yourself, there's problems. Number 2, never say you complete me. So you never get into a relationship as an incomplete person. You'll create more problems than you'll know what to do with. God dang. Michael. Today is number 3. Never receive your life from your partner. You can only share your life with your partner. Everybody needs their own oxygen tank. So I'm going to run into a screen share here. We're going to go back to our slides. And that way you can follow along with some visuals. So never receive your life from your partner. You share your life with them. Now, this is important. Now, yes, Julie, that's right. So, real important stuff we're going to be sharing here in this little quick video. This is almost always a result of low self-worth. When an individual gets into a relationship, these relationships I call need-oriented relationships. And so we've got over 35,000 people in our database based on their behavioral analysis. And over half of the people in our database have low self-worth, if you can believe that. And so this is common today for a variety of reasons that I'm not going to get into on this particular lesson. But you have to understand that your self-worth, think of it this way. Hey, Josh, what is your self-worth? What are you worth? And so this has to be at a healthy level for your relationship to be successful. Now, there's 3 inner dimensions, and that is a lot, over half. There's 3 inner dimensions in the self-awareness of each person. So there's soul, role, and goal. And these pieces can experience what we call frustration. That's because you have a negative bias towards yourself within these areas. So soul frustration is when we are not happy with who we are. Role frustration is when we are not happy with what we do. And then goal frustration is we're not happy with who we're becoming or where we're going in the world. And I've had people come in on all 3 being frustrated here. They have soul frustration, role frustration, and goal frustration, and it creates depression. And so you want to make sure, you are keyed into where you are in your soul, role, and goal orientations. The next thing, never enter a relationship. Hey, Nicole, never enter a relationship to increase your personal happiness or to feel better about who you are. This is a key. When we are relying on another individual for our happiness, our, quote, completeness, which I covered earlier in lesson 1 or 2, I forget. But when we're relying on another person, then what happens is your self-worth and your happiness is basically farmed out to someone else. You can never allow a partner in a relationship to frame your world. Number one, they frame it too small. And number two, they have no stake in your personal world. You can only frame your own world and then share your life with another human being. You can't allow your self-worth and happiness to be based on favorable circumstances, because as soon as circumstances change, so do you. And this creates a pendulum swing back and forth, feeling up one day and down the next day, and frustrated one day and kind of happy the next day. And you can't allow that to happen in your life. And if you have struggles with that, you need to get fixed. And there's many places that can do that. Everyone must have their own oxygen tank in the relationship. What does that mean? Well, if you don't have your own oxygen tank, this is known as buddy breathing. And what happens is in relationships, people buddy breathe. And what happens is there's one oxygen tank and they share it. The tank belongs to one of the partners. And so they have to share their air with you because you don't have any. This creates a lot of problems. And so it's important that you understand how this works. Thank you, Julie. So there's nothing worse than coming home and having to take off your oxygen tank and then send the breather over to somebody else because they're not feeling good about who they are. They're down in the relationship. They think you said something you never said. They think you're having more fun than they are. Whatever the case may be, and then you have to give your air up and give it over to them. Some partners have a way of sucking up all the air in the relationship. Now, you're not going to believe how common this is. It's extremely common, and people learn to just get along with it. They don't know any other way. And it's because they don't value who they are. So I don't even want to talk about what you do or where you're going or who you're becoming. What we find in axiological frameworks when it comes to people is this. Number one, when people don't value who they are, it creates what we call soul frustration. Now, it's important that, you understand, how this works. I believe it was 1987, and I think it was in Midland, Texas, a little girl named Jessica McClure, she was 18 months old, she fell in a well. This was the news broadcast that pretty much put CNN on the map because they ran coverage 24 hours a day. So the municipalities and the town and the people, they all congregated to the McClure property while they dug another shaft. This is similar to getting miners out of a mine shaft that had collapsed. 18-month-old baby Jessica is in this well for 54 hours. An 18-month-old baby is in a well, a deep well, for 54 hours. If I'm not mistaken, their first attempt at digging to get her out, they dug in the wrong spot. They had to start over. And the whole while, there was a lot of concern as to whether or not baby Jessica was going to survive. Now, I don't know how many remember this. Now, here's what the people didn't do. They didn't run a cost-benefit analysis before they dug the second hole. You know, is it really worth it? After all, baby Jessica's only 18 months old. She's not even really good at speaking. She doesn't have a job. She's not really contributing to the world as much as she's consuming things in the world. You know, she eats, she defecates, she urinates, she cries. You know, why are we spending all this money and resources to get baby Jessica out of the well? Nobody had that kind of a conversation. And if you did, you'd be considered a sociopath. And so the reason being is because intrinsic value, when it comes to human beings, is very specific. What it means is, when it comes to people, they have value in and of themselves. In other words, you can't measure the value of a human being against any other thing. Nobody says, should I sell the car or should I sell the baby? And so when you, okay, thank you, Danny. When you understand that at 18 months of age, you are worthy of millions in dollars to rescue you, the whole town coming out, waiting with bated breath so that you can be rescued, simply because you're alive. And so what happens as we get older is things begin to change in our worth. We think, well, I have an education, so now I'm worth more. Or I drive a nice car, so my worth has increased in the world. Or I know all the right people. And a lot of people that are influencers in the world see human beings as commodities with a market value. So the better I sound, the better I look, the more people I know that are important, then my value increases in the world. All of this is untrue. Okay? Your value doesn't increase or decrease. Jessica McClure was worth the same at age 18 months as she is now at age 40 or whatever how old she is. Okay? It doesn't matter how old you are. If you have a PhD or a pacifier, it doesn't matter. Your value never changes. Now, what you do can change, but it doesn't affect who you are. Those pieces are separate. People with low self-worth think that when things go wrong, or they don't do something correct, or they don't have this, or they don't have that they need to climb back in the well. They're not worthy of rescue, blah, blah, blah. When you enter a relationship with this kind of a mindset, then you suck up all the air in the relationship, and it creates a problem. So this is a need-oriented relationship. And what happens is this relationship is nothing but a personal self-help program at the expense of your partner. And it happens all the time. And so my goal here is that you understand how this works. And that if you're not healthy with who you are, don't get into a relationship until you are. And so if you can't be happy alone, it could spell trouble later on. You have to learn to be happy with who you are in the space you're in, doing whatever it is you're doing, and learn to embrace those things. I say this all the time. We all have our pluses and we all have our minuses. We all have positives and we all have negatives. Just like a car battery. But nobody goes out in the morning and opens up the hood of the car, takes the battery out and breaks off the negative post so that our battery's all positive so our car will run better. Because what you'll find out is your car doesn't run at all. Negatives and positives have to be there. You have to have negatives so that you can see the positives for what they are, which is positive. I've got a lot of negatives, and I embrace them. I can't spell. I can't see. I mean, I've got, I've got a lot going on in that field. But it's taken me a long time to embrace myself and love me for who I am. And I've been through a lot. Those of you who know me intimately know my story. And so, it's important that you understand this. So to end this talk, this is a 15-minute one this morning, be happy with who you are and then share your happiness with somebody else. Make sure you have your own oxygen going into a relationship and you're not dependent on somebody else's. So I hope that's helpful. It at least gives you a place to, hey, Darryl, love you, buddy. It gives you a place to start, gives you a place to take off from, gives you some things to think about. And so, hey, Nicole, thank you. If you're in a situation and you're experiencing some of the things we've talked about, my advice to you is get to work on it and make it a priority. So have a great rest of the week, and have a great rest of the week, and we'll pick up next time with number 4, which is never say never.